Welcome to WealthRise Stories, where clarity meets knowledge, and knowledge becomes financial power.
Hey guys, have you ever wondered whether you really understand money? Not how it works on the stock market or how to calculate some complicated interest formula. Do you truly grasp this paper metal or string of digital numbers we spend our whole lives chasing, worrying about, dreaming of on a deeper level? To be honest, there were times when I thought I was pretty woke about finances. I planned, I calculated, I believed I knew how to make money work for me. But there was one time. Actually, let's call it a case. A few years back, I got myself into a case that even now makes me want to dig a hole and bury myself in it. I remember finding an old apartment that was priced, well, too good to be true is the only way to describe it. It was in a prime location, and I thought to myself, just fix it up a bit, refresh a few things, and I can flip it for double the price or rent it out for long-term income. Perfect plan, right? I was so proud of my genius vision, convinced I saw potential no one else noticed. And so I jumped right in. I didn't carefully calculate the unexpected repair costs, the ones you only discover after you smash open the first wall. The ceiling had been leaking since who knows when. The plumbing was rusted and rotten. The electrical system was so outdated, it was dangerous. Then came the permits, design fees, materials that suddenly cost more extra labor. That too good to be true apartment turned into a bottomless financial black hole, swallowing every bit of savings I had and then the money I borrowed. Every time I looked at the pile of bills, it felt like a giant stone was sitting on my chest. That was when I realized I didn't just misunderstand the real cost of renovating a home. I didn't understand myself when it came to money. The overconfidence, the hunger for quick profit, the fear of missing out. All of it made me ignore every warning sign. That mistake cost me more than money. It shook my faith in my own judgment, left me stressed for months on end. And it taught me a painful lesson. Money isn't just numbers on a spreadsheet. It's a mirror that reflects our psychology, our emotions, and the deep-seated biases inside us. So now, I want to ask you a very direct question. If money could talk, what would it say about you? Would it praise you as a good friend, a reliable ally? Someone who values it, treats it wisely, and uses it to create meaningful things? Or would it sigh, shake its head, and complain about the way you treat it? About the times you splurged recklessly, made impulsive decisions, had irrational fears, or were simply indifferent? You know, worrying about money isn't just your problem. A staggering statistic shows over 60% of adults worldwide say they feel financially anxious at least once a week. Sounds shocking, doesn't it? More than half the world's population every week wrestling with heavy thoughts about money. It's not just about income or expenses, it's a massive psychological burden. And that's exactly why I want us to explore the book, Dollars and Cents. Together, a book I believe will completely change the way you understand money. And more importantly, the way you understand yourself. This isn't just a book about saving, investing, or budgeting with some dry formulas. It's about the psychology behind every financial decision we make. It digs into the invisible factors, the cognitive biases, the intense emotions that shape our relationship with money, often in ways we're not even aware of. I promise you, after going through this journey with me, you won't just gain more knowledge about money. You'll gain a whole new perspective, a deeper understanding of the soul of money. And beyond that, of the way your mind is talking to it every single day. You'll start hearing what money is really saying about you. Get ready to open a door you may have never dared to look behind, a door leading to a healthier, more meaningful relationship with money and with your own life. And that's the hook. Do you really understand money? Let's find out together. Have you ever... A short pause felt like money just keeps slipping through your fingers and you can't explain why. Or found yourself stuck between spending and saving decisions, unsure which choice is actually the right one? Or sometimes after an impulsive purchase, you end up lying awake, feeling guilty, asking yourself, why did I do that? If the answer is yes, then I want you to know you're not alone. And more importantly, this is not your fault. The thing is, money isn't just numbers in a bank account or the bills in your wallet. Money at its core is psychology. It's emotion, it's bias, it's the invisible mechanisms in our brain that we often don't even realize are at work. And that's exactly why I want to introduce you to a book that completely changed the way I understand and interact with money and with my life dollars and sense how we misthink money and how to spend smarter by two brilliant minds, Dan Ariely and Jeff Chrysler. You might already be familiar with Dan Ariely, one of the greatest pioneers in the field of behavioral economics. He has this magical ability to uncover the mysteries behind how we really behave, especially when it comes to money. This book doesn't just give you knowledge. It's a roadmap that helps you navigate the complex maze of everyday financial decisions, those things that seem simple on the surface, but are full of psychological traps. Let me share a bit about my own journey. Before I found dollars and cents, I was just like you, lost in that maze. I used to make financial decisions almost entirely based on feelings. I like it, so I'll buy it. This feels worth it. It's probably fine. Those little mantras led me into plenty of impulsive purchases, unnecessary debt, and missed investment opportunities simply because I was afraid or blindly overconfident. I used to think I was incompetent, that I wasn't smart enough to manage my money effectively. Every time I looked at my end-of-month spending summary, I would let out a long sigh and beat myself up. I felt helpless, like I was fighting some invisible force, something completely out of my control. It was an awful, isolating feeling. But then, after reading Dollars and Cents, everything clicked. I realized the problem wasn't that I was bad or not smart. The problem was that I didn't understand how my brain was programmed to handle money. I didn't know about the cognitive biases, the mental shortcuts that all of us fall into. I didn't understand that at the end of the day, we're emotional beings, and those emotions often overpower logic when money is involved. This book didn't just teach me things. It completely changed the way I understand and interact with money. It gave me a new perspective, a deeper understanding of myself. And that's why I want to create this video series. This will be a humanized version of Dollars and Cents. I'm going to transform the complex concepts and academic research into relatable stories, everyday examples, and practical advice you can apply immediately. I don't want you to feel lost or insecure when it comes to money. I want you to feel understood, informed, and empowered. My goal isn't just to help you finish this book. You could absolutely do that on your own. My real goal is to help you decode the psychology behind your own money decisions. And more importantly, take control of it. I want you to see money not as an enemy, not as the root of your anxiety, but as a powerful tool, one that helps you reach your goals and live a more fulfilling life. Together, we'll transform money from a source of stress into a powerful asset in your hands, so you can spend smarter, save more effectively, and invest more wisely. So what will you gain from this series? We're going to dive into each of the unique insights that Dollars and Cents uncovers. We'll explore the relativity of value, why something that costs 500,000 VND feels expensive in one store, but a steal in another, and how marketing tricks manipulate our perception. We'll dissect the endowment effect, why we always value what we already own more highly, and how that shapes buying and selling. We'll dig into the hidden opportunity costs, the invisible prices we ignore, but that massively impact our long-term finances. We'll analyze the psychological difference between paying with cash versus credit cards, and why credit cards make us spend more. And we'll expose the traps of free spending, why we fall so easily for things that seem free. Each episode will be a decode session where we break down one specific psychological aspect so you can equip yourself with a brand new mental toolkit. You'll learn to spot psychological traps, overcome them, and make smarter financial decisions. Most importantly, you'll build a healthier relationship with money, one that makes you feel more confident, more informed, and ultimately happier with the money you have. This isn't just a series about finance. This is a journey of self-discovery, a journey into the hidden corners of our minds when we face money. Let's begin this journey together, not just to understand money better, but to understand ourselves better. Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any episode of this humanized version of Dollars and Cents. I truly believe that after this journey, you'll never see money the same way again. See you in the next episode. Welcome back to our channel where we don't just read books, we live with great ideas. Today we're opening the very first door, the door that leads into the inner world of each of us, where money isn't just a lifeless set of numbers, but a mirror reflecting who we truly are. Have you ever wondered why money holds such strange power in our lives? It's not just a tool for buying things. It can be the source of overwhelming joy, or at times, deep anxiety, even profound disappointment. The book, Dollars and Cents, that we're exploring together masterfully peels back those psychological layers. And today, in Chapter 1, The Psychological Mirror. Who does money reflect? We're going to take a look at 3 invisible marks money leaves on the mind. First, let's talk about what financial psychologists call money scripts. It sounds complicated, but it's actually incredibly close to home. Think back for a moment. What was your childhood relationship with money? Like, did your parents talk about money often? And how did they talk about it? Was it money is the root of all evil, or you have to work yourself to the bone to earn it? Or there will never be enough money? Those words, those actions, those first experiences with money in our families and society form unconscious beliefs, deep imprints etched into our minds. Maybe you grew up in a household that constantly worried about money, and that made you extremely frugal sometimes, to the point of missing out on small joys. Or maybe you witnessed your parents spend freely, and now you find yourself doing the same, overspending, without ever understanding the deeper reason why. I remember one of my friends, she always felt guilty whenever she treated herself to something expensive. It wasn't until much later that she realized her mother constantly complained about not having enough money, even though the family wasn't poor at all. Money is scary. It should only be used for things that are absolutely necessary. Those imprints followed her for years, and they only faded once she became aware of them and consciously shifted her mindset. So money scripts aren't destiny. They're simply a belief system we can uncover and change. Only when we understand them can we truly take charge of the way we interact with money every single day. Next, let's look at an incredibly powerful cognitive bias, one that has left countless investors frozen in place. Loss aversion. This is probably one of the most striking discoveries in behavioral economics. At its core, it says the pain of losing something is usually twice as strong as the joy of gaining it. It sounds simple, but think about this. Would you accept an investment with a 50% chance of doubling your money, but also a 50% chance of losing half of it? Most of us would hesitate. Even though mathematically the expected outcome is positive, the fear of losing 50% hits far harder than the excitement of earning 100%. Loss aversion explains why we hold on tightly to losing stocks, hoping they recover instead of cutting our losses and moving on to better opportunities. It also explains why we feel intense regret after selling an asset that later skyrockets in value. That haunting, if only I hadn't sold feeling is much stronger than the satisfaction of good thing I bought at the right time. In investing, loss aversion can make us overly cautious, cause us to miss potential opportunities, or lead us to make emotional rather than logical decisions. Understanding it doesn't mean you'll eliminate the fear. but at least you'll recognize when it's controlling you, and you can choose more rationally. And finally, another cognitive bias you'll see everywhere from supermarkets to auction floors is the anchoring effect. This bias works like this: when you're making a decision, especially about price, the very first number you see becomes a mental anchor that shapes how you evaluate everything that follows. Think about it. You walk into a clothing store and see a jacket priced at 1 million VND, then discounted to $500,000. Does it feel like an amazing deal? Absolutely, because that 1 million anchor already set the expectation, making $500,000 feel incredibly attractive. But if the jacket had been listed at $500,000 from the start, would it still feel like such a steal? Probably not. Retailers are masters at using anchors. They start with outrageously high prices, knowing no one will buy, just so they can drop the price and make you feel like you've won something big. In salary negotiations, the person who throws out the first number often wins the advantage, because that number becomes the anchor for the entire discussion. Understanding the anchoring effect makes you smarter when shopping and negotiating. Always ask yourself, what is the real value of this item, independent of the first number I saw? Don't let that invisible anchor drag you down. So through Chapter 1, the psychological mirror, who does money reflect? We've taken a deeper look at 3 fascinating psychological elements of the money scripts formed from childhood: the persistent fear of loss and the subtle pull of anchoring. Money isn't just a tool. It's an extension of our psychology, our memories, and our emotions. I hope that after this episode, you'll take a moment to reflect on how you interact with money every day. Ask yourself whether a childhood script is still guiding you, whether the fear of loss is holding you back, or whether an invisible anchor is shaping your decisions. Only by clearly examining this psychological mirror can we understand ourselves more deeply, and from there make financial decisions that are wiser, freer, and more aligned with who we want to become. In the next chapter, we'll dive into another equally fascinating topic: short-term thinking and instant gratification. Why is delayed reward so hard for us? Don't miss it. Welcome back to the Dollars and Cents series, where we break down financial concepts that seem dry at first glance, but actually contain an entire philosophy of living. If in the previous chapter we began tapping into how we think about money, then today I want to take you into a dimension that's even more invisible. Yet it influences every choice we make in life, the hidden price of every decision. Have you ever thought about how every choice, even the tiniest one, comes with a trade-off? We often don't realize that cup of coffee you just drank, that video you just watched, even that thought that just appeared in your mind. All of them have a cost you pay. Not always in cash. It could be time, energy, or even a slice of your potential happiness. In economics, this idea is known as opportunity cost. Simply put, opportunity cost is the value of the best alternative you gave up in order to choose something else. Sounds a bit academic, right? Don't worry. Let's walk through a couple of everyday examples so you can see how this concept shows up everywhere in our lives. Example 1. That $4 coffee. What's the real price you're paying? Picture this. It's a typical New York morning. You swing by a trendy cafe in Manhattan, maybe Blue Bottle La Colombe, or some tiny indie shop in Brooklyn, and you grab a special latte for about $4. It's warm, it's fragrant, it kicks off your day with energy. Delicious. Worth it. No one is blaming you for that. But here's the interesting question: is the true price of that latte really just $4, or are you trading away something you don't see? Let's do a quick little calculation. Suppose today, instead of buying that latte, you put those $4 into an investment account with an average annual return of about 8%, which is pretty typical if you invest long-term in American index funds. And here's the part that might surprise you. If you invested that latte every day, or even every week, over time, Compound interest would turn your $400 into something much bigger. But even just today's $400 left untouched for 10 years could grow to over $860. That may not sound like much, but the point isn't the amount, it's the principle. Instead of paying $4 for an immediate experience, you're actually giving up $8.60 in the future. That is the opportunity cost of your morning coffee. This doesn't mean you shouldn't drink coffee, absolutely not. I live in New York, and trust me, giving up coffee here is harder than giving up Tinder. The point isn't right or wrong, it's awareness. When you understand that today's $4 latte also means saying goodbye to $8-9 in the future, you're making a conscious choice. You decide that the present moment is worth more than that future return, and that's perfectly okay. The meaning lies in knowing exactly what you're choosing. Do 1 hour of social media a day. What are you trading away? Now let's move to an example that doesn't deal directly with money, but impacts the quality of our lives in a massive way. Time. All of us have smartphones and social media platforms. You can easily spend an hour a day scrolling Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, watching funny videos, reading nonsense news, or simply doing nothing. I get it, sometimes we all need a bit of pointless entertainment. But try this calculation: 1 hour of social media each day. That's 7 hours per week, around 30 hours per month, and a total of nearly 365 hours per year. 365 hours. Now imagine what you could do with that amount of time. You could finish 30-40 high-quality books expanding your knowledge and worldview. You could learn a new language, unlocking communication and career opportunities. You could pick up a new hobby, learn an instrument, paint, or do crafts. You could spend that time exercising, improving both physical and mental well-being. Or more simply, you could use those 365 hours for meaningful moments with family, friends, or for rest, meditation, and recharging. So the hidden price of 1 hour of social media a day isn't just the 60 minutes you burn, but the knowledge you didn't gain, the skills you didn't build, the health you didn't improve, the relationships and meaningful moments you missed. That is the opportunity cost of giving 365 precious hours of your life to fleeting, often meaningless information. It's not only about time, it's also about mental energy and the potential happiness you traded away. So how do we apply the mindset of opportunity cost in daily life to make better decisions? Instead of only asking, do I have enough money to buy this, or do I have enough time to do this? Ask a more important question: what am I giving up in order to have this? When you consider buying something expensive, don't just think about the price. Think about the experiences or investments you could make with that money in the future. When choosing between 2 jobs, don't just compare salaries. Think about the work environment, learning opportunities, and work-life balance you'd be trading off. When you decide to spend the evening watching a movie instead of learning a new skill, be aware that you're choosing short-term pleasure over long-term growth. This mindset isn't meant to make us regret every choice. It's to help us become more aware. It encourages us to clearly see the trade-offs so we can make decisions that align with our core values and long-term goals. Every day, we make countless choices, and behind each one is an invisible price quietly at work. By recognizing and naming opportunity cost, we stop being passive passengers swept away by habit or fleeting emotion. Instead, we become active architects of our own lives, intentional, thoughtful, and empowered. Start today by asking yourself, what am I giving up to get this? That simple question could be the key to opening a new door, one where you make smarter decisions, live more meaningfully, and value every moment and every resource you have. I hope this chapter 2 has given you deeper insight and a fresh mental tool. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever realized the opportunity cost behind your own decision? Thank you for listening and following along. See you in the next chapter, where we'll explore more fascinating secrets from Dollars and Cents. Today we're diving deep into Chapter 3 of Dollars and Cents, with a title that I think many of us have experienced, but may have never clearly named: The Fairness Trap. Why we pay for emotion. Are you ready? Let's explore it together. Welcome back to our series on dollars and cents. If in previous chapters we peeled back the layers on common cognitive mistakes, then today we're touching one of the deepest roots behind our irrational financial decisions: the feeling of fairness or unfairness. Have you ever wondered why we sometimes refuse a great deal or willingly pay more simply because something feels right or feels fair? Sounds kind of ridiculous, right? Money is money shouldn't more always be better. But humans are much more complex than that. And this fairness trap is a powerful example of that complexity. Key point 1. The ultimatum game. Rejecting free money out of a sense of unfairness. Let's start with a classic behavioral economics experiment called the ultimatum game. It works like this. There are two players, the proposer and the responder. The proposer is given a certain amount of money, say $100, and their job is to split it with the responder. The proposer can offer any split: 50-50, 70-30, 90-10, even 90-1. The responder has only two options: accept or reject. If they accept, both players get the proposed amounts. If they reject, both players get nothing. The money disappears. Now, if you were a robot, a perfectly rational creature, what would you do if someone offered you $10 out of $100? You'd take it, right, because $10 is better than $0. Pure logic says, if the amount is greater than zero, you win. But here's the fascinating part. When this experiment is run with real people, the results are totally different. Most people reject offers they perceive as unfair, for example, anything under $30. Meaning they'll happily walk away from $10, $20, even $30 if it ensures the other person gets nothing as well. Why? Why are we willing to sacrifice our own gain just to teach a lesson or punish what we see as unfairness? Because of our ego, our self-respect, and our need to feel fairly treated. When someone offers a blatantly unfair split like 90-10, we feel insulted, belittled. That feeling of being treated like a fool hits much harder than the pleasure of receiving a bit of free money. We'd rather walk away with nothing than accept a financial insult. It's not about the money, it's about our worth in someone else's eyes. Think about it. Have you ever felt ripped off when shopping, or felt taken advantage of when splitting a bill with friends, even if it was a small amount? That irritation can linger. You might vow never to return to that store or avoid eating with that friend again. The price of fairness here isn't money, it's our inner peace and our pride. And we're willing to pay a high price to protect it. Key point 2. Why we gladly pay more for a product with a good story or a conscious brand. From refusing free money because of unfairness, we move to another side of the fairness trap: our willingness to pay more for things that feel right or ethical. Have you ever stood in front of two nearly identical products, same function, same quality, but one is significantly more expensive, and you ended up choosing the pricier one? Not because it's better, but because it has a story. Let's look at some examples. A cup of coffee. Sure, you can get a $2 coffee from a street cart in New York, simple, quick, hot, and enough caffeine to wake you up. But one block over in Soho or Brooklyn, you might happily pay $6 to $8 for a latte from Blue Bottle Stumptown or Devotion. Why? Not just because the coffee tastes better, but because of the story. Single origin Arabica beans grown by farmers in Colombia, roasted just enough to preserve the flavor, brewed by a barista who's basically an artist. You're not just buying coffee. You're buying an experience, an identity. And sometimes the feeling that you're supporting a good cause. That's New York, where a coffee can come with an entire manifesto. In Downs, ethical or fair trade clothing, you can buy a basic t-shirt at Target for $10. Or walk into a shop in Williamsburg or Soho, where brands like Everlane Patagonia or Allbirds proudly display ethically made, sustainable materials, transparent pricing, no exploitation, and you'll willingly pay $35 to $60 for something similar. Not because it lasts twice as long, it often doesn't, but because wearing it makes you feel like a responsible consumer, making the right choice, contributing to a fairer world. You're not just buying a shirt. You're buying ethics, belief, and a bit of pride in your choice. Organic food. In New York, you've got two clear options. Buy regular produce at the corner market or walk into Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, or the Union Square Farmers Market and pay 20 to 50% more for something labeled organic. Science is still debating nutritional differences, but New Yorkers still choose organic because of how it feels. Safer, more natural, better for my body, better for the planet. You're not just buying food. You're buying peace of mind, a healthier lifestyle identity, and confirmation that you're someone who cares. In all these cases, we're not paying for the product itself. We're paying for emotion. For the feeling that we're doing the right thing, supporting the right cause, and expressing our values through our purchases. We're buying a slice of social fairness, environmental fairness, or labor fairness, neatly wrapped into a product. Brands are exceptionally good at crafting stories that evoke these emotions. They know how to tap into our desire to be good, meaningful people. And that's when they can convince us to pay a premium far beyond the product's physical value. Is this bad? Not necessarily. Supporting positive values is admirable. But the key is knowing when you're doing it consciously and when you're being subtly manipulated. Key point 3. How to recognize and escape the fairness trap so you don't get manipulated. Here are 3 important steps. 1. Recognize the emotion influencing your decision. Ask yourself, am I buying, accepting, rejecting this because of its real value, or because it makes me feel fair, respected, responsible, angry, or validated? If you feel a strong urge to reject a small bargain because it feels wrong, or pay a premium for a product with a heartwarming story that you don't actually need, that's your red flag. Watch out for keywords like support for the community, eco-friendly, doing the right thing, unacceptable. They often signal emotional influence. 2. Separate material value from emotional value. Ask yourself, material value. What does this really give me? What's the opportunity cost? What's the actual market value without the story? Emotional value. How much is that feeling of fairness, pride, or responsibility worth? Is there a cheaper way to get the same feeling? Counterfactual. If the brand had no story, would I still pay this price? Imagine you're walking around Williamsburg or Soho, 2 hotspots in New York, full of eco-friendly fashion shops. You see a minimalist organic cotton t-shirt for $20. Before swiping your card, ask, if this shirt didn't have the eco-friendly label but the quality stayed the same, would I still pay $20? Or would I go to Uniqlo or H&M and buy a similar one for $8? This question helps you separate how much you're paying for the actual shirt and how much you're paying for the feeling of being a responsible consumer. Both are valid as long as you know what you're paying for. New Yorkers love to say, it's not about the price, it's about knowing what you're buying. That's smart consumption. 3. Define fairness for yourself and set boundaries. Everyone has their own definition of fairness and values. There's no absolute right or wrong. What matters is intention and awareness. It's good to support ethical brands as long as it aligns with your values and your financial ability. Create a budget for emotional spending, a small monthly amount dedicated to supporting small businesses, handmade products, organic food, etc. Avoid impulse decisions driven by anger or inspiration. Give yourself time. Sometimes one night of sleep is enough for logic to return. Money isn't just numbers. It's tied to deeply human emotions. The fairness trap shows how powerful emotions, especially fairness, pride, and respect, can influence financial decisions in irrational ways. We reject money or pay extra just to protect our ego and the values we care about. Recognizing this emotional power is the first step to becoming a smarter, more intentional financial decision maker. Don't let emotion blindly steer you. Learn to understand it, accept it, and then take control so your choices align with your long-term goals and values. So what about you? Have you ever fallen into the fairness trap? Have you ever rejected a good deal or paid more for something simply because it felt right? Share your stories in the comments. I'd love to hear them. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss upcoming chapters. See you in the next one. If in the previous chapters we decoded some pretty fascinating things about how our brain thinks about money, then today we're going to dive into a feeling I'm certain every one of us has experienced, whether we realize it or not, that little sting when we reach for our wallet, and more importantly, how big companies are taking full advantage of it. Let's step into Chapter 4, the pain of paying and how companies exploit it. Have you ever wondered why spending the exact same 1 million VND or $40 feels completely different depending on whether you pay in cash or swipe a credit card? I'm sure you have. And so have I. 1. $40 cash or credit, which one hurts more? Let's imagine this in New York. You're in an electronics store in Midtown Manhattan, and you decide to buy something that costs about $40. Scenario 1. You pay with cash. You open your wallet. You pull out 2 crisp $20 bills, the slightly rough paper texture, the smell of new bills, that iconic green color. When you hand them to the cashier, you see the money leave your hand and disappear from your wallet right in front of you. Your wallet physically gets thinner and you feel it. Yeah, I just spent $40. It's a physical experience, tangible, real, and honestly, a little painful. You literally witness the loss happening. The money leaves your wallet, and it leaves a small empty space, not just in the wallet, but in your mind. This is what behavioral economists call the pain of paying. Scenario 2. You swipe your credit card. Now imagine you just pull out a tiny card, maybe your Chase Sapphire or Citi Double Cash, the classics in New York. The cashier gives it a quick swipe, or you tap to pay, and boom, you're done. The whole transaction is fast, clean, emotionless. No bills leaving your hand. No wallet getting thinner. No empty feeling. Just a soft beep and maybe a notification. A few seconds later, you've just spent $40, and your reaction, no? Okay. Then you walk away like nothing happened. A thin piece of plastic sits quietly in your wallet, and somehow the feeling of losing money is almost completely numbed. Why such a big difference? Behavioral economists call this payment transparency. When you pay in cash, transparency is extremely high. You see where the money goes, how much you lose, and how it affects your wallet. When you pay with a card, especially a credit card, transparency drops drastically. The money doesn't disappear from your account instantly. It becomes a future problem you'll deal with at the end of the month. This creates a psychological distance between the act of spending and the actual pain of losing money. We spend more easily when we don't feel the pain immediately. This is a powerful psychological mechanism, and I'm sure you've already been manipulated by it without even realizing. 2. The numbing power of subscriptions and autopay. If paying with cash triggers obvious pain, then there are other payment methods designed to numb that pain as much as possible. I'm talking about subscriptions and autopay. Look around. Most of us have at least one or more, realistically multiple monthly or annual subscriptions: Netflix, Spotify, YouTube, premium, iCloud gym memberships, editing software, language learning apps, fast delivery memberships. The first time you subscribe, you might think carefully. You see the price, you hit confirm, and you might feel a little pinch. But after that, you forget about it completely. Every month, on a fixed date, the payment is automatically deducted from your bank account. No swiping, no bills leaving your hands. Sometimes, not even a notification. This is heaven for companies, one of the strongest business strategies ever created, because it eliminates the pain of paying. You only feel it once at the beginning. After that, everything goes numb. You watch Netflix every day, but do you feel like you're paying for each episode? Of course not. It creates stable recurring revenue. For companies, this is a money printing machine. Predictable income, loyal customers, and no need to convince you every time to spend. The omission effect. It's harder for us to cancel something we already have than to simply let it renew. Even a tiny barrier, opening an email, logging in, clicking cancel, is enough to keep most people from doing it. I've fallen into this trap myself. There was a time when I had 3 or 4 different streaming services just to watch some exclusive show. And after finishing it, I completely forgot to cancel. So my money quietly evaporated every month until I checked my bank statements and nearly fell out of my chair. So remember, the convenience of auto pay and subscriptions isn't always your wallet's friend. It's a double-edged sword, helpful when controlled, but dangerous when ignored. 3. How to use the pain of paying to save more intentionally. The good news is we're not helpless puppets of psychology. Once we understand how the pain of paying works, we can actually turn it into a tool to improve our financial health. Here are some strategies I personally use, and they work remarkably well. Audit your subscriptions, monthly or quarterly. Spend 30 minutes every quarter, or at least twice a year, reviewing every automatic charge on your bank or credit card statements. Ask yourself, do I really use this? Is it worth the price? Is there a cheaper or free alternative? Be ruthless about canceling things you no longer use. The pain of canceling up front is nothing compared to the money you'll save long term. Use cash for wants, not needs. This is the most direct way to recreate the pain of paying. For non-essential purchases, the things you want, not need. Clothes, fancy meals, decor, entertainment, try paying in cash. Use the envelope method. Withdraw a fixed amount of cash for wants each week or month. Divide it into envelopes by category. When an envelope is empty, that's it. No more spending in that category. Seeing money physically leave your hand forces your brain to confront the cost. Knocked. Bring credit card pain closer to reality. If you must use credit cards, use expense tracking apps linked to your bank so you see your real balance in real time. Turn on SMS or app notifications for every transaction. This shortens the psychological distance between spending and awareness. Set clear savings goals. When you have a meaningful goal, buying a home, traveling, retirement, the pain of not buying that unnecessary item becomes easier to bear. Visualize your goal. Let it compete with the short-term impulse. Remember, our goal isn't to eliminate the joy of spending, but to become conscious, intentional decision makers. Understanding how psychology affects our money is the first step to mastering it. We've now dissected another fascinating element of financial psychology, the pain of paying, and how companies cleverly turn it into their advantage. More importantly, we've learned how to use that same mechanism to strengthen our personal financial habits. Dollars and Cents truly opens up fresh perspectives. And I believe that with today's insights, you'll start seeing your spending habits differently. Try putting some of these strategies into practice. You'll be surprised at how quickly your habits shift. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss the next chapters. And share your experiences in the comments below. How have you felt the pain of paying? And how are you using it to save more? I'll see you in the next chapter where we'll explore another fascinating psychological angle. The value of time versus money. Why we spend differently on experiences and things. Thanks for listening and for being here. Welcome back to our video series analyzing dollars and cents, money and mind. After exploring the hidden forces behind our financial decisions today, we're opening another door, a world that almost all of us live in every single day, but rarely ever notice. It's the world of invisible jars, the imaginary accounts we create in our own minds. This is Chapter 5, the imaginary jars inside your head. Have you ever wondered why, When we receive a bonus, we're much more willing to burn it on fancy dinners or luxury purchases than when we get our monthly salary. Or why money for travel feels completely different from money in an emergency fund. Even though both are just identical numbers on your bank statement, if the answer is yes, then welcome to what behavioral economists call mental accounting. Or, as I like to say, the imaginary jars your brain creates to organize your money. Exposing mental accounting, when your brain separates money into phantom accounts. Mental accounting is the way we subconsciously divide our money into separate accounts based not on logic, but on where the money came from, how we plan to use it, or even how we feel about it. We do this automatically, and these imaginary accounts have an enormous impact on the way we spend and save, often in inconsistent and irrational ways. Picture this: inside your head are dozens of transparent jars. A jar labeled salary, a jar labeled bonus, a jar labeled travel fund, a jar labeled emergency savings, a shopping jar, an entertainment jar. And every time money comes in, your brain instinctively pours it into different jars. The problem: $1 in one jar feels emotionally and psychologically different from $1 in another, even though in reality, money is fully interchangeable. 1. Why is bonus money easier to burn than salary money? This is a classic example of mental accounting. Think about your salary. Every month when it lands in your account, you immediately, often unconsciously allocate it. Part for rent, part for utilities, part for groceries, part for gas, part for savings. Salary feels assigned to essential responsibilities. It sits in the basic life expenses jar, and we treat it carefully, even cautiously. Then one day you get a surprise bonus from work or a birthday cash gift. And how does it feel? Exciting, right? That money isn't part of your plan. It sits outside your usual budget. Your brain instantly puts it in a different jar, the bonus jar, or even the free money from the universe jar. And because it's bonus money, it's not burdened with responsibility. It feels like a little gift, so we spend it freely. A new watch, a fancy dinner, an impulsive weekend trip. Things we'd hesitate to buy with salary money. Burning through bonus money becomes normal, because in our head, the bonus jar is pre-approved for guilt-free spending. This isn't lack of discipline, it's a built-in flaw in how our brain organizes financial information. 2. The psychological difference between travel money and emergency savings. Let's look at another example. You have 50 million VND in your savings. 25 million is travel money you've saved up over the year. The other 25 million is emergency savings. Now imagine your refrigerator suddenly breaks and repairing it costs 3 million VND. Where do you take the money from? Most people will immediately dip into their emergency savings jar. That's what it's for, right? But what if your emergency jar is empty and your travel jar is full? Would you touch the travel fund? Most people feel extremely uncomfortable doing that, even if it means borrowing money or delaying the repair just to preserve the travel jar. Sounds irrational, doesn't it? It's all your money. It's in the same bank. The numbers are the same. But psychologically, the travel jar carries joy dreams, anticipation. The emergency jar carries safety caution. Mixing these purposes disrupts our emotions and our decisions become inconsistent. I remember once saving up a nice chunk of money to buy a new camera. I called it my camera fund. Then my phone screen cracked, and I needed a few million to fix it. I hated the idea of touching the camera fund, even though I had more than enough money elsewhere. I eventually used the camera fund for the repair, but the guilt of stealing from myself for the wrong purpose lingered for days. That's mental accounting at work. 3. How to merge these imaginary accounts for a clearer, more effective financial strategy. So, what do we do about these mental jars? We can't entirely eliminate this instinct. Categorizing money helps us feel organized and in control. But we can learn to merge these imaginary accounts, at least mentally. so we can make more consistent, rational decisions. First, see your money as one unified resource. Imagine all your money savings accounts, checking accounts, cash, even investments flowing into one big reservoir. This is your net worth. When you see the whole picture, you realize $1 in the bonus jar is no different from $1 in the salary jar or the emergency jar. Money is money. Its purchasing power is identical. Second, ask yourself the antidote to mental accounting. Whenever you're about to spend, from a specific jar like a bonus or a gift, pause and ask, if I had this amount of money in my general account, would I still spend it this way, regardless of where it came from? Example, you get a $500 bonus and want to buy a new pair of shoes. Ask yourself, if I had an extra $500 in my total net worth, would I still choose these shoes over paying down credit card debt or investing? When you disconnect the money from its emotional source, your decisions become more rational. Third, build a unified budgeting and financial management system. Use a finance management app or an Excel sheet to track all your accounts together. This gives you a bird's eye view instead of staring at one jar at a time. For example, instead of seeing travel fund for $1 $500 and emergency fund for $1 $500, look at the combined $3,000 and ask, with $3,000 total, what is my highest priority right now? Fixing the fridge or traveling? Unifying mental accounts doesn't mean you stop setting goals. You can still have a travel budget or shopping budget, but remember, these are guiding targets, not rigid walls. Money can move between them without guilt or inconsistency. Once you start seeing your money as one unified reservoir, you become a much stronger financial decision maker. You're no longer driven by emotional labels or unconscious biases about where money came from. You make decisions based on the big picture, based on your overall goals, instead of feeling trapped inside imaginary jars. This is the shift that turns you from an emotional money manager into a true financial architect. Start by identifying the jars in your head, then boldly pour them into one reservoir. You'll be amazed at the clarity and empowerment that follows. Thank you for exploring another fascinating angle of money psychology with me. Mental accounting is an invisible trap most of us fall into, but simply recognizing it can massively improve your financial control. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe so you don't miss upcoming chapters of Dollars and Cents. Share in the comments. How have you experienced mental accounting, and what strategies have you used to merge your jars? I can't wait to read your stories. See you in Chapter 6, where we'll dig into another compelling dimension of human financial behavior. Until then, live wisely and enjoy life. And once again, we're diving into the fascinating pages of Dollars and Cents to understand more clearly how our brains think about money. Today we're stepping into a territory that I'm sure every single one of us has visited at least once, whether we realized it or not. This is Chapter 6, Comparison, the Silent Enemy of Financial Happiness. Have you ever felt like you bought something? Not because you truly needed it, but because it seemed reasonable when compared to another option. Or suddenly thought this is cheap, simply because it was placed next to something ridiculously expensive. If yes, then congratulations, or more accurately, my condolences, because you've fallen into the relativity trap. Dollars and Cents breaks down a harsh but incredibly important truth. As humans, we rarely evaluate the value of something based on its absolute worth. Instead, our brains take a mental shortcut. Rather than calculating the true value, we choose the more convenient path: comparison. Comparison with what's around us, with other options, with what other people have. And if this habit goes unchecked, it becomes a silent enemy, slowly eating away at our financial happiness. Let's take a closer look at the three major layers of this relativity trap. First, we have to talk about a classic marketing strategy you've probably seen everywhere: the decoy effect. This happens when a third, usually less attractive option is added, not to be chosen, but to manipulate the attractiveness of the first two options. and very often push us toward the more expensive one. Sounds complicated. Let me give you the classic example you may have heard before, or maybe you've experienced it yourself. Picture this. You walk into a movie theater starving and ready to buy some popcorn. Scenario 1. 2 options at the counter. Small popcorn, $2. Large popcorn, $6. In this case, you'll probably pick the small one to save money, or at least hesitate because the large is triple the price, and you might not finish it anyway. Scenario 2 with a decoy. The counter adds a third option. Small popcorn, $2. Medium popcorn, $5 or less. Large popcorn, $6. Suddenly, the medium option appears. Notice anything? Now, the large popcorn at $6 seems like an incredible deal compared to the $5 medium. The medium option the decoy makes the large look like the smart choice, even though $6 is still a lot for popcorn. And just like that, instead of buying the small, many people end up buying the large. Marketers are masters at this. They don't just sell products, they sell comparisons. They don't just want you to buy, they want you to buy the most expensive option that still feels reasonable. From phone plans, basic, premium, VIP, to cars, standard, mid-tier, fully loaded, to restaurant menus, side dish, combo, deluxe combo. There's always a decoy pulling you toward the high-profit option. They're not blatantly deceiving us, they simply understand how our brains react to choices. We hate making absolute decisions. We cling to relative ones. The choice that seems best among what's available is far easier to accept than a choice evaluated on its own absolute value. Now let's move to a more real-life example, one that I'm willing to bet many of you have experienced recently. The question is, why does a 1 million VND accessory feel cheap when paired with a 30 million VND phone? Imagine you just bought a brand new flagship phone for 30 million VND, around $900. How do you feel? Probably excited, a little ouch, but also thinking, well, since I already spent that much. Then the salesperson pitches accessories: a $40 shockproof case, a $20 screen protector, or a $75 extended warranty. And your brain goes, come on, I already paid $900. What's $40 for a premium case? This phone is expensive. I should protect it. $75 for peace of mind. Cheap compared to $900. And suddenly the wallet opens effortlessly. But let's pause. Would you spend $40 on a phone case if it didn't come with a $900 phone? Probably not, or at least you'd think twice. The real culprit here is the anchoring effect layered on top of the relativity trap. That $900 becomes a massive anchor. Every additional cost gets judged relative to it. A $40 case becomes just a small percentage, and thus reasonable. And this happens everywhere. Buying a house and furniture. After spending hundreds of thousands on a house, suddenly spending an extra few thousand on a matching sofa, a smart fridge, or a massive TV feels tiny. I already bought the house anyway. Upgrading service plans. You get a basic internet plan. The provider says, only a little more for faster speed and extra channels. Relative to the initial price, that little bump seems harmless. Yet, you may not need any of it. Travel. After paying for flights and accommodation, splurging on Michelin restaurants, exclusive tours, or room upgrades feels like part of the experience. This is how we easily spend on small items that add up to very big numbers just because they're overshadowed by a larger payment we already made. We get trapped in a cycle of relative spending, each new item becoming an anchor for the next. So how do we escape this dangerous comparison trap in shopping and in life? The answer lies in focusing on your true needs, not someone else's standards. The first step is recognizing the trap. When you're about to buy something, pause and ask, am I evaluating this on its absolute value, or am I comparing it to something else? Instead of asking, is this cheaper, better than that? Or, does this match the price of my new phone, non-house trip? Ask, does this actually fulfill my real need? Is it worth the money, regardless of other options? Do I need this right now in my life? Back to the $40 phone case. Instead of thinking $40 is nothing compared to $900, ask, is this $40 case significantly better than a $10 case? Does it protect my phone any better? Does it fit my budget? Chances are the cheaper case works perfectly fine. You don't need a $40 case just to match a $900 phone. You need a case that's functional and reasonably priced. But the comparison trap doesn't stop at products or services. It extends into our lives, and this is where it becomes truly dangerous, quietly destroying financial peace and emotional well-being. My friends bought a house in that neighborhood. I should too. My coworker just took a luxury trip to Europe. I need to go somewhere impressive as well. My partner has designer items. I should have one too. Or simply scrolling through social media and suddenly feeling like your life is inadequate. This is the keeping up with the Joneses syndrome, a race with no finish line, only exhaustion. If you keep chasing other people's standards, you will never feel enough. There will always be someone richer, more stylish, more successful with nicer things. This race drains not just your wallet, but your mental peace. To break free from this cycle, we must learn to return to ourselves. Ask, what truly matters to me? What are my financial goals? What genuinely brings me joy? Does my happiness really come from having what others have? Maybe you're perfectly happy with a mid-range phone that fits your workflow, and you'd rather put your money toward the backpacking trip you've always dreamed of. Maybe you prefer a cozy, small apartment instead of drowning in debt just to keep up. Maybe a simple, functional bag brings you joy, not a designer one bought just because everyone else has it. When you focus on your own needs, values, and priorities, you escape the endless comparison loop and start building a stronger, calmer financial foundation. Remember, financial happiness isn't about outrunning others. It's about reaching a place of peace and sufficiency on your own terms. In the end, relativity is a double-edged sword. Marketers use it intelligently, but it can also manipulate us into overspending or even falling into debt. The only way to overcome it is to stay aware, ask the right questions, and always return to yourself. What do I need? What value am I getting? Am I choosing this for myself or because of some external standard? Learn to appreciate absolute value instead of chasing relative illusions. That's the key to unlocking lasting financial happiness. Thank you for listening. In the next chapter, we'll explore another psychological layer of money, how we shape value subjectively through the ownership effect and our personal emotions. Don't miss it. Welcome back to our channel, the place where we decode the tiny mysteries of financial psychology so we can live a wiser life. And of course, one that hurts our wallets a little less. Today, we're going to explore a fascinating psychological phenomenon that every one of us has experienced at some point, even if we didn't realize it was quietly directing our decisions. This is Chapter 7. Why do we overvalue what we own in our journey with dollars and cents? Have you ever tried selling something you owned, maybe an old phone, a motorbike, or even just a piece of clothing you no longer wear, and felt like the buyer was offering way too little? You expected price X, but the buyer only wanted to pay Y, and Y just felt insultingly low compared to the X in your mind. You felt like they were lowballing you, or that they simply didn't appreciate the true value of your item. If the answer is yes, then congratulations or condolences, depending on how you look at it. You've just experienced a very common psychological phenomenon called the endowment effect. The endowment effect says this: once you own something, its value increases dramatically in your own eyes, far beyond its actual market value. This happens even if you acquired it randomly or only possess it temporarily. Let's dig deeper into that example of selling something used. Why does the buyer's offer feel too low? Maybe it's the phone that stayed with you throughout college, holding memories you can't put a price on. Maybe it's the motorbike that carried you across countless roads, something you took care of with your own hands. Or maybe it's simply an item you spent time researching, comparing, and choosing. All those factors, memories, effort, pride, attachment, weave together into an invisible, emotional thread. That thread makes the item feel special in your eyes, completely different from identical items sitting on a store shelf or belonging to someone else. We tend to attach an emotional premium to what we own. Buyers, on the other hand, look only at function, condition, and market price. For us sellers, it's not just an object. It's a part of our personal story, a symbol of our investment, not just financial, but emotional and time-based. Selling it feels like a tiny loss, and we naturally want compensation for that loss. In fact, that feeling of loss when letting something go is often stronger than the satisfaction of acquiring something new of equal value. That ties directly into loss aversion, which we've talked about before. So next time you feel lowballed when selling something, remember, it's not necessarily the buyer's fault. It might just be the endowment effect, whispering in your ear. And while we as owners are heavily influenced by this bias, businesses are absolute masters at exploiting it. Ever noticed those 30-day free trial offers or streaming services giving you a free month? At first glance, they seem extremely generous, risk-free, harmless. But in reality, they're a brilliant psychological strategy built entirely on the endowment effect. When you sign up for a free trial, a software, a service, a product, you're being granted temporary ownership. You get to use it daily, integrate it into your workflow. Enjoy all the premium features without paying a cent. During those 30 days, it's no longer just a product. It becomes part of your routine, your work, your entertainment. You've invested time learning how it works, customizing it, saving your data there. Then the trial ends, and you're faced with the question, should I pay to keep this? But notice the decision is no longer, should I pay money to get this? Instead, it becomes, should I give up what I already have? Letting go feels like a loss of convenience, loss of routine, loss of familiarity. And as we already know, humans are extremely sensitive to loss. That tiny sense of losing something is far more powerful than the pleasure of gaining something new. Companies cleverly trigger the endowment effect from the start, making you feel like the product is already yours, so paying to keep it feels easy, natural, almost automatic. Genius psychological trick, isn't it? So how do we avoid falling into this trap and make more objective decisions when selling, letting go, or even buying something? Here are a few small but powerful strategies. 1. Put yourself in the shoes of an outsider. When you're evaluating something you own, imagine you're a stranger who's never seen it before and has zero emotional attachment. Or ask a friend, if you saw this item for the first time and knew nothing about my history with it, how much would you pay for it? Would you even buy it? This helps strip away your emotional filter. 2. Focus on future value, not past value. When selling or letting go of something, don't focus on the money you originally spent or the time you invested. Those are sunk costs. Instead, ask, what future value will this bring me if I keep it? And what value could I gain if I sell it and use the money elsewhere? Would you buy your own item today at its current market price? If the answer is no, it might be time to let go. 3. Value it before you own it. If you're about to buy something new, try mentally estimating how much you think you could resell it for later. This gives you a realistic perspective of depreciation and market value. Or during a free trial, ask yourself, if I had to pay right now for this service, would I? If the answer is no, cancel it without hesitation. 4. Coach your decluttering mindset. If you're trying to clean up your space or live more minimally, remind yourself, does this item truly serve me today? Or is it just taking up space and mental weight? Sometimes, the value of empty space, clarity, and mental calm is far greater than the emotional or material value of the item. The endowment effect is an invisible but extremely powerful force, shaping how we value our belongings from the smallest items to major financial decisions. It explains why we struggle to sell used things and why so many marketing strategies work so effectively. Understanding this effect helps us view our possessions more objectively. So next time you find yourself overvaluing something or feeling reluctant to let go, remember the endowment effect. Notice it. Name it. Watch how it shows up in your daily decisions. That awareness alone can help you make smarter financial choices, less emotional, less regretful, and much more grounded. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next chapter as we continue exploring the complex, fascinating world of money and psychology. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss any of the upcoming insights. Welcome to WealthRise Stories. I hope you're having an amazing day. Have you ever wondered what really drives the financial decisions we make every single day? Even when we think we're being completely intentional. Have you ever caught yourself choosing a certain path simply because it was the easiest one? Because it required the least effort, the least thinking? Well, welcome to the world of default choices, an invisible, shockingly powerful force that quietly shapes our financial future bit by bit. Today we're diving into Chapter 8 of our video series on dollars and cents, a chapter I like to call Lazy Choices, the Invisible Power Shaping Your Future. Our goal is to uncover how these default settings, for better or worse, deeply affect your money and your life, usually thanks to our very human tendencies toward procrastination and inertia. You know, we humans are designed to save energy. Our brains constantly look for the path of least resistance. Why calculate or make a complicated decision when there's already a preset option just waiting for us to nod along? This is exactly where the power of default choices kicks in. It's the easiest path, the one you'll follow, unless you actively choose something different. Think about it. When you buy a new phone, it comes with default settings. When you create a new social media account, it has default privacy settings. And in our financial world, these defaults have an influence that runs much deeper. 1. The power of smart laziness, automating your monthly saving and investing. We all know we should save, right? We all know we should invest for the future. But how many of us actually do it consistently? That I'll do it later. This month, I spent a little too much, or let me wait until the end of the month to see what's left. Are the little lies we tell ourselves. This is where smart laziness becomes your greatest ally. Instead of relying on willpower or self-discipline, which, let's be honest, is very fragile, we create beneficial default choices for ourselves by automating our monthly saving and investing. Imagine this, right when your paycheck hits a set percentage, maybe 10%, 15%, even 20%, automatically moves into a separate savings or investment account. You don't have to think. You don't have to choose. It just happens. Just like your internet bill getting auto-charged every month. Personally, from the moment I earned my very first paycheck, I set up an automatic transfer. At first, the amount was small, just enough so I wouldn't feel it. But over time, as my income grew, I increased the amount too. And here's the beautiful thing, you naturally adjust to living on what remains. You shape your spending around it without even feeling deprived. What are the benefits? Eliminates procrastination. No more, I'll do it later. The money moves before you can spend it. Builds a habit. Once it's default, it becomes automatic. Harnesses compound interest. Your money starts working for you sooner, and compound growth over time becomes enormous. Removes guilt and stress. You no longer worry about whether you're saving enough. You know you're on track. Think of this as a default choice you set for your future self. It's not just saving. It's you building a better version of yourself lazily, but incredibly effectively. 2. When companies use default choices to pick your pocket. But not all default choices are good for your wallet. In fact, many companies, big corporations especially, use this invisible force to make you spend more or simply to keep you from switching to better options. Have you noticed? Free trials with auto-renewal. You sign up for a streaming service, a language learning app, or some fancy software. They give you 7 days, 30 days for free. but only if you enter your credit card. And once the trial ends, it auto-renews and charges your card unless you actively cancel. Most people forget, or are simply too lazy to cancel. Pre-checked boxes. When booking flights, hotels, or shopping online, you see tiny boxes already checked for add-ons, travel insurance, seat selection, faster delivery donation options. If you don't notice and uncheck them, the default is that you'll pay extra. Opt out instead of opt in. Instead of asking you whether you want something, they assume you do, and you must actively decline. Auto-renewing premium plans, internet packages, mobile plans, subscription bundles. Many will auto-renew at a higher price after a certain period. They know that calling customer service or comparing plans feels like a hassle most people avoid. Companies are extremely skilled at exploiting our laziness and inertia. They know that once something becomes a default in your life, it's very hard for you to change it. Change requires effort, awareness, and a bit of headache, things our brains naturally avoid. So we end up spending more simply because we didn't want to deal with it. This isn't a conspiracy, it's behavioral psychology turned into business strategy. And we need to stay alert so we don't become victims of our own ease and convenience. 3. How to set up default choices that actually benefit your financial future. Here's the good news. We can flip the script. We can regain control. We can design default choices that help us turning laziness into a powerful tool for long-term financial success. Here are a few ways to start today. 1. Audit all your subscriptions and services. Spend a quiet evening reviewing everything you're subscribed to. Netflix, Spotify, iCloud, gym memberships, mobile apps, add-on insurance. Open your bank and credit card statements. Look for all recurring charges. Ask yourself, do I actually use this? Is it worth the money? If not, cancel it immediately. You are literally resetting your default to not spending money on unnecessary things. 2. Make opt-out your mental default. When shopping online, assume that you do not want any add-ons unless you choose them on purpose. Uncheck every pre-selected box. Only choose what you truly want and need. This tiny shift in mindset can save you a surprising amount of money. 3. Automate all your positive financial behaviors. Saving, investing, set up automatic transfers the moment you receive your paycheck. Debt repayment. If you have debt, especially high-interest credit card debt, automate payments above the minimum to get out of debt faster. Bill payments, automate rent, utilities, internet, phone bills. This prevents late fees and keeps your credit score healthy. 4. Add friction to your negative behaviors. If you're prone to impulsive online shopping, remove your saved credit card info from shopping sites. Having to type it in each time creates just enough friction to make you think twice. Turn off notifications from shopping apps. Hide promotional emails. Carry only the cash you plan to spend when going out. 5. Turn your financial goals into defaults. Want to buy a house, travel the world, retire early. Turn those dreams into specific numbers and automate money flowing into those categories. Watching your dream home fund or retirement fund grow automatically is incredibly motivating. The power of default choices doesn't come from constant effort. It comes from making one decision, setting it up, and letting it run. This is the smartest form of laziness you can apply to your financial life. Don't let procrastination and inertia shape your future. Take charge by setting up beneficial defaults and let them quietly build a strong, wealthy future for you. Start today. Pick one suggestion above and do it right now. That's your first step toward becoming the architect of your own financial destiny. Thank you so much for listening and staying with me through this chapter. I hope these insights brought you clarity and inspiration to take action. I'll see you in the next video. Welcome back to WealthRise Stories, and especially to our video series exploring the hidden psychological forces behind our financial decisions inspired by the book Dollars and Cents. Today, we're digging into one of the biggest and most fascinating barriers our brains place on the path toward financial freedom, our ability to empathize with our future selves. This is Chapter 9, Connecting with Your Future You. Have you ever wondered why saving for retirement, even though we know it's incredibly important, feels so hard? Why we're so quick to spend on short-term pleasures, but hesitate when it comes to decisions that benefit our long-term future? The answer isn't that you lack discipline or willpower. It's buried deep within the way the human brain is wired. Imagine this when you think about a close friend, a family member, or even a celebrity. A certain region of your brain lights up. But when you think about yourself 10, 20, or 30 years from now, your brain reacts as if you were thinking about a stranger. Yes, not a close friend, not a sibling, but someone you barely know. Neuroscience shows that the part of the brain activated when we think about our future selves is the same part activated when we think about other people. Wild, right? This means that deep down, your present self doesn't feel an emotional connection to your 65-year-old self. Your current self wants the new iPhone, the Bali trip, the fancy dinner. But your 65-year-old self, the one with gray hair, may be facing medical bills, or simply longing for a peaceful, worry-free life, feels like someone entirely different. This is the essence of present bias, our tendency to prefer immediate rewards over long-term benefits. The lack of emotional connection creates a huge gap, making it incredibly hard to sacrifice today's pleasures for a distant future. We talk a lot about the need for financial planning, saving, investing. But the root of the problem is often ignored. We simply don't feel enough empathy for our future selves. So how do we build that emotional bridge? How do we turn that stranger into someone we genuinely care about? I have two main strategies, both designed to trick your brain in a good way into forming a stronger connection. Strategy 1. A practical exercise. Write a letter to your 65-year-old self. This isn't just a journaling activity. It's a real heartfelt conversation. Find a quiet moment. Turn off your phone. Sit somewhere private. Then grab a notebook or open a document and start writing a letter. But not a letter full of dry financial goals or numbers. I want you to visualize yourself at 65. What does your face look like? The smile lines around your eyes, the gentle lived-in expression of someone who has been through life. Where are you living? A cozy little home. Traveling the world, reading by a sunny window. How do you feel? Fulfilled, peaceful, or a little regretful? Write as if you're talking to a dear friend you haven't seen in years. Start with a warm greeting. Hello, my friend at 65. What do you want to tell them about your current life? Your joys, your struggles, your dreams. More importantly, ask how they feel. How have your decisions today shaped their life? Ask what advice they have for you. What would they want you to change or keep doing? Share your fears. I'm scared I won't have enough to live the peaceful life I hope for. And your hopes, I hope I'm on the right path to giving you the comfort and happiness you deserve. When I did this exercise a few years ago, I was shocked by how emotional it felt. At first, I thought it was silly. But the moment I truly envisioned my future self, the emotions hit. I wasn't just writing goals, I was writing about a life, a person. I felt a strange protective instinct toward that woman in the letter. She wasn't an abstract future anymore. She felt real. She had needs, desires, fears. The purpose of this exercise isn't just to think about the future, it's to feel it. To build a strong emotional bridge so that that stranger becomes someone you genuinely want to care for. Strategy 2. Use technology and visualization to make long-term goals more real and urgent. If writing letters taps into emotion technology, helps translate abstract ideas into something visible and concrete, directly engaging the information processing part of your brain. Retirement and investing calculators. Dozens of free apps let you plug in age retirement goals, monthly contributions, and expected returns. Then they show you your projected retirement balance, often with a powerful exponential growth chart. When you see those millions or the steep upward curve, your present self starts to understand. This is real. This is achievable. Many tools even let you adjust contributions to see how small changes today lead to massive differences later. Face aging tools. Apps like FaceApp show what you'll look like when you're older. Seeing your own face with wrinkles, gray hair, and the weight of time is shockingly powerful. Suddenly, future you isn't an idea. It's you. That emotional jolt helps close the psychological distance. Vision boards, digital or physical, create a board filled with images of the retirement lifestyle you want. A beach house, a garden, world travel, a cozy reading nook. Put it somewhere you'll see every day. Every glance reminds your brain, this is why you're saving. This is what you're building. Abstract goals become emotional, tangible, motivating. Name your accounts with intention. Instead of savings account number 1, rename it Peaceful Retirement Fund, age 65, or Future Freedom Account. It sounds simple, but it gives the money purpose. Every deposit becomes an act of care, not just a transaction. Connecting with your future self isn't about depriving your present self of joy or becoming stingy and obsessed with the future. It's about expanding your circle of empathy so that it includes the person you will one day become. Every small financial decision you make today isn't just for you. It's for a dear friend, someone you love, someone you want to protect. Start building that bridge today. Write that letter. Spend 15 minutes creating a digital vision board. You'll be amazed by how your mindset and your habits begin to shift. In the next chapter, we'll explore another fascinating dimension of financial behavior. How society and social media influence our spending decisions. Don't miss it. Welcome back to our dollars and cents journey. At this point, I believe this journey has become more than just about money. It's also been a deep exploration of the inner workings of our minds, hasn't it? We've walked through so many chapters together, from understanding how our brains get tricked to discovering ways to make wiser financial decisions. And now we're standing at the finish line. Or rather, at a brand new beginning, Chapter 10. From Dollars to Cents, the Roadmap to Building Wisdom. This isn't just a chapter to summarize everything. This is where we connect all the pieces together to paint a complete picture of a truly holistic financial philosophy, one that isn't built solely on cold, hard numbers, but one that balances logic with the delicate emotional forces inside us. Let's look back for a moment. Throughout this journey, we've exposed the invisible ghosts in our minds, those hidden saboteurs that constantly push us toward poor decisions. Remember the framing effect. How the way information is presented can completely shift our perceptions and choices, even when the core facts remain the same. For example, a promotion that says 20% off sounds far more appealing than price increases by 25% if you don't buy now, even if the math can work out similarly. We're often fooled by presentation and forget the essence of the problem itself. Then we have loss aversion, one of the strongest forces driving human behavior. We feel the pain of losing something far more intensely than the pleasure of gaining something of equal value. This is why we cling to losing investments, refuse to cut losses, or avoid change even when we know our current situation no longer serves us, simply because we're afraid of losing what we've already put in. And don't forget mental accounting, the way we divide our money into mental buckets. Salary goes into one bucket, bonuses into another, savings into another. And strangely, we're much more willing to splurge bonus money than salary money, even though it's all the same kind of money. This keeps us from seeing our finances as a whole and leads us to waste money on things we don't need while our real goals are left behind. Then there's the sunk cost fallacy. How many times have you forced yourself to finish a lousy meal just because you already paid for it? or kept throwing money into a failing business idea or a course you no longer care about simply because you've already invested too much time or money. This feeling of not wanting to waste what you spent locks us into worse decisions ahead. And finally, one of the most dangerous traps, present bias. That urge for instant gratification, the craving for immediate satisfaction rather than waiting for bigger rewards in the future. It's the reason we keep saying we'll start saving next month or go to the gym next week, but keep pushing it back again and again. These psychological traps aren't enemies lurking in the shadows. They're built into the way our brains work. They're not inherently bad. They're shortcuts our minds use to process information quickly. But in the world of money, these shortcuts often lead us astray. So how do we escape these psychological mazes? How do we stop being puppets controlled by invisible biases? The key isn't in learning more formulas or reading hundreds of investment books. It lies in one word that seems simple, but is immensely powerful: self-awareness. Self-awareness isn't just knowing how much money is in your account or how much debt you owe. It's understanding why you spend the way you do. It's the ability to recognize the emotions rising inside you when you face a financial decision. The rush of excitement when you see a massive discount. The anxiety when the stock market fluctuates. The guilt after an impulsive shopping spree. Have you ever wondered where that feeling of regret after impulse buying comes from? Or why, even though you know saving is important, you still swipe your card for things you don't really need? Self-awareness is the spotlight that shines into those dark corners, helping you see the true motivation behind each behavior. When you realize you overspend on takeaway coffee because you feel lonely in the mornings, or you keep buying new clothes because you're seeking validation, that's when you start gaining the power to change. Self-awareness doesn't just help you avoid traps. It helps you discover what truly matters to you. And once you have that clarity, what do you do with it? You begin building something I call a values-based budget. Sounds philosophical, doesn't it? But it's actually incredibly practical and transformative. A values-based budget isn't a rigid spreadsheet full of rules that make you feel restricted or deprived. It's a tool that helps you direct your money toward the things that genuinely reflect what you value most in life. Imagine this: instead of asking, "How much money do I have left to spend?" you start asking, "Where is my money going? And is it supporting my core values?" To do this, you'll need to sit down and be honest with yourself. What truly brings you joy, peace, and meaning? Is it memorable travel experiences? Is it quality time with family? Is it investing in your health so you can live long and vibrantly? Is it contributing to a cause you care about? Or is it the freedom to pursue work you love without constantly worrying about money? Once you identify those values, let your money flow toward them. For example, if you value health, then spending on clean food, a quality gym membership, or premium health insurance is no longer an expense. It's an investment in a core value. You'll feel grateful, not guilty, when you spend on these things. If you value connection and experiences, then allocating money for family trips, cozy dinners, or shared activities will bring you far more emotional return than buying the newest piece of tech you barely need. If you value freedom and personal growth, then investing in courses, education, or building an emergency fund to give yourself security for bold career decisions becomes meaningful spending. A values-based budget doesn't tell you that you can't spend money on anything else. It simply helps you become the CFO of your own life, someone who allocates resources like money, time, and energy into the areas that bring the highest emotional return. The expenses that don't align with your values will naturally become easier to reduce without feeling like sacrifice. Instead, you'll feel like you're optimizing your life. This is the perfect intersection of logic and emotion that we've been aiming for. Logic helps us recognize psychological traps and plan wisely. Emotion helps us connect with our deeper values, giving us motivation and satisfaction. when our spending aligns with who we truly are. When reasoning and emotions walk side by side, that's when we build true financial wisdom. So what is real financial wisdom? It's not becoming a flawless calculating machine that never makes mistakes. It's not hoarding money and stressing about protecting it, either. Real financial wisdom to me is the ability to navigate the complex financial world with confidence, peace, and most importantly, alignment with your authentic self. It's knowing who you are, knowing what you want, and using money as a powerful tool to build a meaningful life rather than letting money control you. We started this journey with dollars, the numbers, the transactions, the mechanics. But we end with sense, wisdom, purpose, meaning. It's a transformation from managing money mechanically to living intentionally through money. This journey has no finish line. Developing self-awareness and shaping your budget around your core values is an ongoing process. The world changes, you change, and your values can evolve too. What matters is your commitment to constantly learning, observing, and adjusting. Start today. Give yourself a quiet moment and ask, what truly matters to me? Where is my money going? Is it leading me closer to the life I genuinely want? Thank you so much for walking with me through this unforgettable dollars and cents journey. I hope what we've shared becomes not just knowledge, but inspiration, the spark that helps you begin building your own path toward financial wisdom. Wishing you strength and peace on that journey. See you in the next videos where we'll continue exploring many more fascinating sides of life. Hello there, my wonderful friends. We've journeyed together through the fascinating layers of thinking in the book, Dollars and Cents, a book that I'm sure has made more than a few of you go, oh, or even, oh my God. How did I not know this earlier, right? We've learned about psychological traps, about how emotions sneak into every financial decision, and how money is actually just a tool that reflects the deeper values inside us. But, hey, learning it and leaving it there would be such a waste. Knowledge that isn't applied will forever remain just knowledge on paper. And that's exactly why today I'm bringing you a challenge, a 7-day journey that I call the Dollars and Cents Challenge. This isn't a test. It's an opportunity for you to actually experience, to actually feel the principles we've talked about, and more importantly, to start reshaping your relationship with money in a more conscious, intentional way. Are you ready? No need to feel pressured. Just think of this as a little self-discovery game. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is to understand yourself better. Day 1 and 2. Track every expense and the emotion behind it. To kick off our journey, the first 2 days will focus on tracking your spending. Sounds familiar, maybe even a bit boring, right? Who hasn't heard of tracking expenses? But wait. Here's the twist. You won't just record the numbers. You'll also record the emotion you feel whenever you spend money. Grab a small notebook or open your favorite budgeting app. For the next 2 days, I want you to do one thing. Write down every single thing you spend money on, from your morning coffee, office lunch, gas refill to that impulsive online purchase you checked out in 5 seconds. But don't stop at the numbers. Next to each expense, pause for a second and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Excited, worried, guilty, satisfied, regretful, or just indifferent? Be as honest with yourself as possible. You know, I remember when I first tried this years ago, there was a time I bought something completely unnecessary, just because everyone else was buying it. When I wrote that expense down, I realized I felt a bit empty, a bit pressured, not really happy. That was one of my first aha moments, when I realized money is sometimes used to fill emotional gaps, but it rarely works. The purpose of these 2 days is to build a raw, honest picture of how your money flows and the little emotional storms tied to each decision. Don't judge yourself. Just observe. Think of this as collecting data about you. After 2 days, you'll have your own emotional financial diary. And trust me, it will reveal things you didn't expect. Day 3 and 4. Identify the 3 psychological traps you fall into most often. Now you have your data right. Amazing, it's time to go deeper, applying what we learned from dollars and cents to decode your spending habits. Over days 3 and 4, your mission is to identify the 3 psychological traps you fall into the most. Go back to your spending and emotion notes from days 1 and 2. Read through each expense and ask, was this triggered by a psychological trap? Do you often find yourself stuck with the anchoring effect, clinging to the first reference number, even when it's unreasonable? Do you fall into the sunk cost fallacy, trying to recover what you already spent, even though you know it's pointless? Do you struggle with mental accounting, dividing money into mental buckets without seeing the full financial picture? Or maybe it's present bias, prioritizing small, immediate pleasures over long-term gains. For me, I realized I often fall into the sunk cost trap when eating at buffets. I'd think, well, I already paid for it, so I have to eat as much as possible to break, even when I was already painfully full. That was no longer enjoyment. It was emotional decision-making, overriding rationality. Write down the 3 traps you fall into most easily. Don't feel ashamed or scared when you recognize them. Identifying the enemy is the first step to escaping it. Once you understand your psychological weak spots, you can actively avoid or counter them. That's the power of self-awareness. Day 5. Set up an automatic savings transfer, even if it's just $4. Narrator. All right, the past few days have been all about thinking. Now it's time for action. Today's task is insanely simple but surprisingly effective. Set up an automatic savings transfer. You might think, come on, who doesn't know they need to save? Yes, everyone knows it. But very few people do it consistently. So today, we apply a golden rule: turn good habits into default habits. If you're living in New York, for example, open your banking app, Chase, Bank of America, Capital One. Look for recurring transfer or automatic savings. Set up a transfer of around $4, about $100,000 at VND, from your spending account to your savings account. Pick a date, payday, the first of the month, anything. Why just $4? Because it's small enough that you won't feel any pressure. The goal isn't to make you rich overnight. It's to build consistency. Think of it as planting a tiny seed every month. At first it's small, but over time it grows into something meaningful. I used to think, what can $4 even do? But I did it anyway. And after a few months, I saw a little stash forming more. Importantly, I felt proud and more in control of my finances without feeling deprived. This is one of those psychology hacks Dollars and Cents always talks about: remove friction. Once saving is automated, you don't have to think, debate, or fight with yourself. The money moves quietly before you even notice. So please do it now. It only takes a few minutes, and your future self will thank you. Day 6 and 7. Write down your top 3 core life values and see whether your spending aligns with them. Find a truly quiet moment, maybe a calm evening or a slow weekend morning. Grab some paper or open a blank document and ask yourself, what are the most important things in my life? You can think about family health, financial freedom, personal growth, adventure, contribution, peace, creativity. There's no right or wrong. Just listen to your heart. After really thinking it through, write down your top 3 life values. Just 3 to keep it focused. For example, my 3 might be freedom to experience continuous self-growth and authentic connection with loved ones. Once you have these 3, go back to your emotional expense diary from earlier. Read through everything and ask, is the money I'm spending supporting the values I care about most? For example, if freedom to experience is your value, then trips, new skill courses, or dinners with friends might fit well. If health is at the top, then gym memberships, clean food, or nutrition books should be prioritized. If self-growth matters to you, are you investing in books, courses, or professional workshops? This exercise is incredibly powerful. It connects money with your life purpose. You'll begin to notice lost expenses, money being drained into things that don't support your happiness or long-term goals. The goal isn't to eliminate all non-essential spending. We all need little joys. The goal is to give yourself a clear compass. When you spend intentionally aligned with your values, you feel less regret and far more satisfaction. Money becomes a tool to build the life you actually want. I know you might not perform every step perfectly. You might forget to record one expense, or maybe you're still unsure about your top 3 values. And that's totally okay. The point of this challenge isn't perfection, it's awareness. It's to help you begin exploring yourself on a deeper level. How you think, how you spend, and how you relate to money. Think of this as a tiny seed you've just planted. Care for it with curiosity and patience. I truly believe that if you commit these 7 days to yourself, you'll see money and yourself in a completely different light. You'll start noticing small changes, and those small changes will eventually lead to big results. Share your experience with this challenge in the comments below. What did you learn? Did you have an aha moment? I would love to hear your story. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I'll see you in the next videos, wishing you a wonderful day ahead and many wise financial decisions. We've been on quite an interesting journey together, exploring the hidden corners of our relationship with money through the incredibly insightful book, Dollars and Cents. I hope the things I've shared have in some way resonated with you, helping you reevaluate the way you think about and interact with the hard-earned money you make. Before we say goodbye, I want to wrap everything up with 3 golden truths that I truly believe, if you deeply internalize them, will change the way you see and interact with money forever. These aren't just theoretical concepts. These are the foundational bricks you can use to build a financially solid, genuinely happy, and more importantly, a meaningful life. Let's go through them one more time. 3 truths that stand like lighthouses guiding our financial journey. And the first truth, perhaps the most important of all, is this. 1. Every financial decision is an emotional decision. Acknowledge it, don't deny it. Sounds a little woo-woo, a bit abstract, right? But actually, science has proven this clearly. Our brains are wired to prioritize emotion when making decisions, especially financial ones, because money carries so many meanings: safety, freedom status, even love. Have you ever swiped your card for something expensive just because you had a terrible day, or because you wanted to reward yourself after a stressful project only to regret it later? Have you ever rushed into an investment trend because all your friends were doing it, afraid you might miss out on a chance to get rich? Hello, FOMO. Or on the flip side, have you held a big chunk of money in the bank, even as inflation eats it away, simply because of a vague fear of the future? See, all of that is emotion. Fear, greed, joy, sadness, envy. I remember back when I was younger, I once burned a painful amount of money on a get-rich-quick course just because I felt financially pressured and desperately wanted a magical escape. I convinced myself it was the only way out. And the result? Well, you can guess. Fear and desperation completely hijacked my logic, and I paid a heavy price for it. Dollars and Cents helped me realize that instead of trying to eliminate emotion, which is nearly impossible, and shouldn't even be the goal, we should learn to observe it. Ask yourself, what emotion is driving me right now? Is this decision rooted in logic, or am I reacting to a temporary emotional state? Sometimes just taking a brief pause to reflect can save you from countless mistakes. Money isn't some cold, lifeless thing. It's deeply entangled with our hopes, fears, dreams, and insecurities. Acknowledge that and learn to master it. And once we understand the power of emotion, it becomes much easier to grasp the second truth. 2. Understanding your brain's system glitches is the first step to winning the money game. Our brains are essentially energy-saving machines. They create mental shortcuts, cognitive biases to help us process information faster and make decisions quickly in a complex world. But these shortcuts often lead us straight into financial dead ends. Think about it. Anchoring bias. You're overly influenced by the first number you hear, even if it's irrelevant. A shirt listed as $2 million now, only $1 million sounds way more appealing than shirt for $1 million, even though the real value is the same. That $2 million price tag anchors itself in your mind. Endowment effect. You overvalue the things you own simply because they belong to you. You expect to sell your old phone for more than the market price just because it's been your phone. Confirmation bias. You look only for information that supports what you already believe. If you think a stock will go up, you read all the good news and ignore every warning. I remember once holding onto a horribly losing stock simply because I didn't want to sell at a loss. That was sunk cost fallacy in action. I had invested time and money into it, so letting go felt painful, even though logic screamed that it was a terrible investment. And the right thing to do was exit and move on. I ended up losing much more because I refused to admit my mistake. Recognizing these system glitches isn't about feeling bad or inferior. Don't be surprised or ashamed when you catch yourself falling for these biases. Think of them as software bugs that need updating. Always ask yourself, am I looking at this issue objectively? Is there information I'm ignoring? Is there someone with a different perspective I should listen to? The money game isn't won by the smartest person. It's won by the person who makes the fewest silly mistakes, the one who knows how to protect themselves from the psychological traps their own brain sets for them. And finally, the third truth, perhaps the deepest, most philosophical one, yet the foundation of a fulfilling life. 3. Sense isn't about earning more money dollars. It's about using money to build a meaningful life. Modern society often equates success with the amount of money we make. Those with mansions, luxury cars, and fat bank accounts are seen as winners. We get swept into the race of accumulating more dollars and forget the true purpose of money. But Dollars and Cents urges us to look deeper. Money is just a tool, a means to an end. Its real value lies in how we use it. Many people mistakenly believe that more money automatically equals more meaning. They throw themselves into work, sacrifice, health, and family time, all for the sake of growing numbers on a screen. But is a life that's rich in material things, but poor in spirit connection and experience, truly meaningful? So what is a meaningful life? It's the freedom to pursue your passions. It's time with family and friends. It's unforgettable experiences that money may buy access to, but not the feelings themselves. It's the ability to help others. It's the quiet peace of knowing you're living in alignment with your values. It might mean using money to buy more free time to learn something new, to travel the world, or to build a home for those less fortunate. I've seen many people who earn a lot, but have no time for themselves, always stressed, worried, or lonely. And I've seen people who aren't wealthy by society's standards, yet they use what they have to live rich, meaningful, fulfilling lives. They don't chase the flashy standards society imposes. They define wealth on their own terms. This book doesn't teach you how to become a millionaire. It teaches you how to become wise with money, how to turn lifeless numbers into meaningful life values. Take time to define what meaning means to you. Money will serve that purpose, not become the purpose. Ask yourself, if I had X amount of money, how would I use it to make my life and the lives of those I love better, richer, more meaningful? Money can buy comfort but not contentment. It can buy assets but not true happiness. Only sense wisdom can do that. And there you have it, the 3 golden truths I want you to carry with you after this video. These aren't just lessons about money. They're lessons about life, about how to master yourself and how to create happiness. Reflect on them. Apply them. I truly believe that once you start viewing money through the lenses of emotion, cognitive biases, and meaningful purpose, your financial path will become much clearer and far more stable. If you found these truths helpful, don't hesitate to hit like, share this video with someone who might need it, and leave a comment so I know what you think. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through dollars and cents. Remember, money doesn't have to be a burden or an enemy. It can be a friend, a powerful tool that helps you build the life you dream of. See you in the next videos, wishing you wisdom and happiness in all your financial decisions. Welcome back, everyone. We've just walked through quite a long journey together, uncovering the hidden layers in our relationship with money through the brilliantly crafted insights of dollars and cents. I believe that through the analysis, the stories, and all those little, oh wow. So that's why moments throughout this video, many of you have discovered missing pieces in your own financial puzzle. But my friend's knowledge only becomes truly valuable when it's transformed into action, right? No matter how good a video is, it's still just a catalyst. Your journey, the journey of changing your financial mindset and habits, truly begins from this very moment. And I'm here not just as someone sharing information, but as a companion, a cheerleader for every step you take. We've talked about psychological traps, about how biases, emotions, and even the laziness hardwired into our brains can pull us away from our financial goals. I'm certain that deep down, each of us has fallen into at least one of these traps at some point, maybe even stuck in one right now without realizing it. So now let's take a moment to pause and reflect. Honestly, I want to invite you to take a few small but deeply meaningful actions to turn this knowledge into real power in your life. You don't need to write an academic analysis. You don't need a perfect essay. You just need honesty. Maybe you've realized that you often get anchored to an initial price and miss out on better opportunities. Maybe you've noticed that you're overconfident with your investments and downplay risks. Or maybe you're someone who always delays saving money, coming up with every excuse under the sun. Calling these traps by name, officially acknowledging them, is the first and most important step toward escaping them. I still remember once being overly confident about a major purchase. I didn't ask anyone for advice because I thought, I've got this, I know what I'm doing. The result: a painful financial loss. I was frustrated, disappointed, and suddenly very aware of the overconfidence trap I had walked right into. After that, I made it a point to listen more, to seek different perspectives. It was an expensive lesson, but also an incredibly valuable one. So what about you? Which trap made you go bingo? That's totally me. Share it in the comments below. This isn't just you telling your story. It's creating a safe space where others can find resonance, realize they're not alone, and learn alongside you. Every comment you share is a puzzle piece that helps us all build a deeper understanding of financial psychology. I'll be reading them all, and I can't wait to hear from you. Knowledge about personal finance, especially the psychology of money, isn't something you learn once and never revisit. It's a flowing stream, constantly evolving, along with our lives. I'm committed to bringing you more content that's high quality, insightful, and easy to digest, so we can keep decoding the complexities of the financial world together. Just imagine you won't miss any deep dive analysis, any priceless lesson from the greatest financial books, or any fresh perspectives on how our brains behave when faced with money. When you hit that subscribe button, you're not just supporting this channel. You're investing in your own financial future, ensuring that this stream of knowledge always reaches you quickly and effectively. And don't forget that little bell next to the subscribe button. It's not just an icon. It's your loyal assistant making sure you're one of the first to know whenever a new video drops. Let that bell be a reminder that continuous learning is the key to achieving financial freedom. Is someone in your life struggling with financial decisions, a family member, a friend searching for better ways to manage money? Or simply someone you care about and want them to feel more at peace and in control financially? I've always believed that sharing knowledge is one of the kindest things we can do for each other. You're not just sharing a YouTube video, you're sharing a new perspective, a spark of hope, a practical tool that could change someone's life. Sometimes, the right video at the right time can be the beginning of a major life transformation. Think about it. If each of us understood financial psychology better, our community would be stronger, families would have more open conversations about money, and together, we'd build a more prosperous future. Sharing this video doesn't just help the channel grow, more importantly, it plants seeds of positive change in the lives of the people around you. My dear friends, your journey is unique, but you don't have to walk it alone. Turn the knowledge we've explored into real strength. I believe in you. I believe in our journey together. Start today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.